You are just adding the tons and tons of problems to the sector. Now, even this council, I disagree with this council. To be honest with you, we really don't need it. But as to the extent that it allows us to interact, which we'll be doing, it's good. But not for the council to be a council like Council of Education, Health, Water, and so on, that will come here and do policy. No. That's not. But as interaction stakeholder, to educate ourselves, to hear from stakeholders is good. But not to give it that, what we call personality of council that we know operate in government. The consequence of this, of course, there is no industry, there is no mineral production, of course, there is widespread dangerous and irresponsible ASM activities affecting lives, health, and the environment. There is no additional source of revenue for government. There is no employment opportunities. We miss all the opportunities. We still import even basic raw materials to this country, and no contribution to GDP. What do we get in this country now? This is the personality of mining in this country. This is what we have. This is the symbol of Nigerian mining industry. Everywhere you go. No control. Even the poor donkeys are not spared. Even to government, how much does this sector contribute now? I have this statistics from the ministry. 1.7 additional, maybe a billion naira. How much is the ministry's government, the ministry's budget in a year? They are not even contributing. Today the government stopped giving money. It cannot even sustain the ministry's budget. Typical example, some countries in Africa, the revenues they get from mining in billions of dollars, not billions of naira. The list there is much more than many times over what we get. Our own is about $3 million in a year. Now these are the pillars of global mining industry, like I said. So you can have all this, don't get me wrong, you can have all this right. There may still not be mining. So there are many issues, but let's do what we can right. Then allow the one that is not in our control, like endowment, like global trends, to now make us where we are. But not things that we can do with our own hands. We shouldn't allow that to stall us back. We know this challenge to the ownership and governance of the sector. That's our problem. That's the main problem between federal government and state government. State government are feeling that they should be part of that ownership and the control. And unfortunately, the law of the land has not allowed that to happen. If you change the constitution or change the law, then that may work. But why do we have to change all these things if there is an unproductive sector? I want to state, wait, when the sector becomes productive, then you cannot bring your demands for better share, if that's what is important. And this consumption of minerals, you think you are sitting on minerals, 44, what do you call it? 44 minerals, and I told the ministry to stop doing this thing, please. There is nothing like that in the world of mining. You can have 1 mineral deposit for this country. Madagascar is living on a titanium mine. That's world class. It's enough. You don't have to have minerals in all states or local government. Let's have petroleum in all states and local government. It's the same thing. Petroleum and minerals are the same under law in this country. If we now say, state say they should give you mineral, then the people with oil, they should give them their oil. This is the plain truth. These are all common wealth to this country. Common wealth. So if you touch, you are creating trouble for yourself. If Bauchiman say he must get his own minerals, I will tell Akwa man to hold his oil. If I'm the president of this country. Government license, give rights, the activity will be done on land and there is no good access. State governments create impediment. Local governments, communities, impediment. Federal government fail to also enforce. You will see what law says. Taxation also. Many barriers are put outside struggling minds. Minds that are struggling to make ends meet. They pay royalty. You put barriers again from local government, for the state government. Tax people come and start collecting, multiple collection. It keeps mining. In the end, these people are doing for profit. If there's no profit, how do you pay tax? Derivation. The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission have been talking on this. There is derivation just like the oil industry. The more licenses you allow, the more fees that are collected, the more mineral production from your state, the more you claim derivation. If you are right, you claim it. If you are not giving, claim it if you have records. But you cannot do unless you have the records of this and you organize an organized system. Captures the entire spectrum of the stakeholders involved in the control of mining. Okay. You know, states are states, but not all states are the same. So for you to even start to say you have Ministry of Minerals, do you really have minerals, or are you attracting investors? So if I were you, go to the mining cadastre and see how many people are interested in going to your state to, or applying for license in your state. If the people are not going there, why do you waste their resource? Go and drill boreholes for every drink water than to give a very robust office of the Mineral Commissioner with all the apologies, commissioners and concepts. You know, there are many things else to do other than mining to better your lives of your people. So, if you look at this is record from the cadastre on the attractiveness of states to mining investors. So if your state is lower than 50 licenses, for example, really, why do you bother? Can't you find alternative things to do than to worry much? In future, if it increases, of course you can do. So you see here Kaduna, Nasarawa, and so, and you see, when I look at this, God so much loves Nigeria. To be honest, where else? Look at all the oil producing states don't have minerals. This is not a fair balance. And then you want and you want to take your own and then take your own also. No. Let's develop mining so that the people that don't have minerals can also derive value from mining, so that in the same manner that we are deriving value from the oil, if you play the oil, it will be the reverse. Please. Now, I think the last part is just to say these are some highlights which all of you know. Please, as black people, as Nigerians, I'm sorry, let me say, as a people, some people say that if you want to hide things to us, put it in the book. Because we don't read. We have the book, we don't read. We have the Mining Act. Let us read and see what it says. There is no item of this sector governance that is not clearly specified in the Act. In fact, our Act is almost like a regulation. It's so detailed. It's not an Act that will be subject to interpretation. Any ordinary person, you read, you understand what he's saying. Because it's a sector that needed to be understood. So, issues of this Meremco, please look at the representation in Meremco. Ownership and control of minerals. Please read this one. No state should even dare. If you do this, you are challenging the federal government of Nigeria. It's totally in the hands of the federal government on behalf of all of us. There is no ambiguity. I'm not a lawyer, but learned people are here, I'm sure. Learned men in law, they will tell you no ambiguity. So why state will now begin to think that, or to now begin to bring new agitation? Allow this sector to work, then you can now bring it. You can see, even though people don't believe in it, don't agree with it, finally. So let me read my conclusions and whether you can take this in your communique. I think I said mining sector governance is a product of the reform initiative. We are now almost 12 years down the line. The philosophy is to provide enabling environment and so on and so forth. To build capacity in enforcement, in administration of license and so on. To what extent this has been achieved can be demonstrated by the negative state of mining in Nigeria. Some of the reasons of failure are attributed to lack of effective enforcement on the side of federal government and the negative tendencies of stakeholders, especially state, local governments and communities. There is need to build a strong and effective cooperation between federal and state local governments in accordance to the provision of law. And this may be the only way to grow and drive immediate benefits from mining by all stakeholders. I can now thank you very much.
If I may invoke my position as chairman, I would want to just chip in a few things. Master of ceremony has said, we all understand when you call professors and dogs to talk, they whip you, they whip everybody. Because they are paid to argue. They are paid to really argue and come up with irreconcilable positions in most cases. However, as far as cooperation between federal and state government and communities is concerned, Professor Garba has done justice to this paper. Issues of overgovernance are issues that at another platform we will want to enlighten him about in our own position, in our own way. And we understand his attachment or over-attachment or sentiment as a former DG of Mining Cadastre Office. We would want to see Mining Cadastre the way it is. All right, we understand where his position is, and we understand his sentiments, but then again, nothing is impossible. The important thing is to divest political interference from operations of the mining sector. The important thing is to give confidence to the investor that his investment will not be affected by political decisions, that his investment policies along the way will not change suddenly to affect his investment. It does not matter where Mining Cadastre Office is located, as long as there is no political interference in the running or in the administration of titles, as long as there is no favoritism in the application of rules governing operation of mines, from the design to operation of mines, from the management of hazards to the benefits that go to the community. As long as there is no favoritism, I think we would have established a fair governance structure. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to just quickly do some recognitions as we go on.
An overview and the perspective of illegal mining operations in Nigeria, the efforts of government towards overcoming these menaces and challenges. Generally, when the name illegal mining is mentioned, all of us have the impression that we are dealing with the lower cadre of the echelon, who are the artisanal miners. But I think as we progress with this presentation, we'll get to understand that rather than looking at those class of persons in Nigeria and the society, we should begin to check ourselves. Because the major activities in this perspective lies with the major players. and the small-scale operators in the country. The control, please. Generally, mining, in the broad terms, encompasses the extraction of mineral resources from the earth and carried out following laid down procedures. All that is required of every operator in the sector to let us have a clean, clear operation. But we have come to realize that majority of us misconstrue this and think that the old practices of inheritances in communal land and all of that still subsist. But with the enactment of the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act, as the first speaker specified and enumerated, gives every individual the opportunity to know what is right and how to carry them out. Similarly, the Minerals and Mining Act classify legal mining as carrying out recognizance permit without the grant of recognizance permit from the cadastre. That is found in section 55 of the Minerals and Mining Act. Yes, it's a common practice within us that where the informal miners who are referred to as the pathfinder find traces of mineralization, Nigerians go straight to mining. And even those who take up the initiative of seeking to access license title from the cadastre, they overlook the importance of seeking the recognizance permit. Secondly, carrying out exploration work without the grant of exploration licenses. This is a common practice in the field too, and we think that it is high time we key into the guidelines and the provisions of the law to make sure that our operations and practices are sustained. Similarly, we carry out a quarrying without the grant of quarry leases. Yes, we have the granite outcrop that occur every location in the country, even behind our homes. It is not your right that when you stroll out and say an operator operating quarrying, you now feel that you have the right to inherit what is located behind your house without the law. Willful export of minerals without obtaining export permit and the non-payment of royalties. In other words, all practices relating to mining, processing, and disposal or sales to the end user they all form part of what we call mining and the extraction of mineral resources from the earth. Therefore, it behoves on all of us here, especially the practitioners in the field, to always seek for export permit, and then you obtain the permit and you pay your royalties. Willful encroachment into tenements without seeking consent of the title holder. I believe strongly that at the end of this paper, questions will come. What right does an artisanal man have to do with entering into a title holder's tenement? But then, even at that, for some of the prized commodities, minerals occurring in the country, even the small-scale operators who access licenses from cadastre encroach onto other tenements. All of these practices form what we call illegal operations in the field. Now, let us look at the consequences of all of these practices. the environment, to government, to individual. First and foremost, everybody seeks government to provide the best structure for them to access. But all of the same persons do not think that it is imperative on themselves to pay royalties to the coffer. Thus, one of the major effects of illegal mining activities in the country is the loss of revenue to the government through non-payment of royalties. We have issues of environmental degradation that starts and mark the landscape of the country wherever any aspect of mining is conducted. The activities of illegal mining too affect social problems within the host community, child labor issues, and gender activities. In view of the fact that Nigeria is a signatory to the ECOWAS Treaty, the easy access into the country by our brothers from the neighboring ECOWAS states is equally impacting seriously on the security of the country. We look through, because of the illegal operations, every individual thinks that they can pick the axes, the shovel and the headpan and pick up materials, use explosives indiscriminately, and by so doing, you reduce the quality of the material you produce, and then you cause wastage, and that is detrimental to the individual operator as well as revenue to the nation. Most of the operators here, there are issues with host community, not that agreement. It does affect the host community. Then, firstly, about the activities of illegal miners. But be it that it is, whatever leads to that, we think that it is time for us to have a rethink that you clearly demarcate the boundary of your tenement. Even though we agree geologically, mineral occurrences has no regard for boundaries on the surface of the earth. But that shouldn't give us the excuse and opportunity to encroach into the tenement of other licensee holders. Remedies are there. It is obvious, and all of us are aware. We have the issue of lack of logistics for the inspectorate officers in the government employ. In the past, there was the issue of mine police, the existence of mine police that phased off, but government is revamping it. We now have a presidential mine surveillance committee that have in membership all the security agencies and line MDAs. One other major issue here is the pollution of the traditional rulers in our local communities. In most states, you can understand that the emir or the chief dictates who get what portion, irrespective of the fact that the operator has secured the proper title for his or her operation. And then there is the connivance with the operators. Even individuals, individuals of the host community join in this because when you want to make inquiries or to investigate any complaint, they keep mute for fear of intimidation. Of recent, most of the states, some states have taken up the power to begin to allocate and issue licenses. To the extent that, well, apology to Kaduna State, it will be recalled that when the Honorable Minister was on official trip to Kaduna State, only to observe an illegal operation who has taken over a fully officially licensed operation. And when investigation was carried out, it was read out that the Attorney General of Kaduna State issued a license for that illegal operation. It is unfortunate, but I think with the program, the collaborative program with the states and the federal government, these issues will be addressed. One of the challenges too is the threat to the life of officials of the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development. We know, we will say that recently the Honorable Minister had to take the bull by the horn with the National Advisor, Security Advisor, to storm Zura. But prior to that, an official of the ministry went there and he was threatened by an armed military man who was on the employ of the operator there. If we, who are operators, and we look up to government to provide all the enabling playground for you to operate, begin to strengthen the life of officials who come only to monitor and inspect your operations, then we do not see where we are heading to. And then one other major challenge to government, in view of the fact that mining takes place a far-flung hinterland, that most of them are mostly inaccessible,